All right, so I'm back to a standing video in my office. I just like it like this a lot more. Again, I'm able to move. I can do whatever I want. Like the other time I was doing a sitting video, it was pretty cool because the nice thing about I'm using a GoPro by the way, but there's some nice like the angle of the lens provides me with a lot of room to do whatever I want, even if I'm sitting. But standing, I can just walk around, I can look around, I'm just more mobile. So, anyway, really quick, you guys may have already met my dogs, but over here behind me, I got a sleeping dachshund. His name is Benji. And I also have a golden retriever back there that you might see. His name is Sawyer. So they're going to be guests in today's video. And again, like I always say, we're mainly just going to have fun with today's video. So without further ado, let us get started. Okay, so as you all know, I like to go on Reddit. Been on Reddit for like 10 years. And one of the subreddits I've been frequenting recently has been the social skills subreddit. And I've noticed a pattern again. That's something you're going to see me say a lot here. But today, one of the things I noticed is a lot of people asking about, for other people that went through a journey of extroversion through introversion and maybe back to extroversion, or maybe they went from extrovert to introvert and they stayed there, or introvert to extrovert and they stayed there. What was that journey like? How did it feel? How did they maybe come out of the other end? And just pretty much a personal story. So that's what I wanted to do today. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I'm 31 years old. So I'm going to be taking you through three distinct eras in this video of extroversion, introversion, extroversion. So I'm going to be starting off with high school, so the ages of 14 to 18. That's going to be an extroverted phase. And then we're going to be moving to introversion, which is going to be university for me. That's going to be going from the ages of 18 to 24. And then finally, we're going to be going to my now adult life, the present moment, from the ages of 24 to 31. So I hope you guys find this useful. I'm going to have a lot of fun talking about it, and I hope I can provide some insights. By the way, as I'm talking, you might see me go over here and get some water. I know you might see a little bit of sweat here. I literally just came from the gym. I did a ton of cardio, which I'm super happy about, something I'm trying to get better at. And I'm also going to be looking at this whiteboard here. I have a whiteboard behind me. I just took some notes, so if you see me looking off to the distance, you know. And now, without further ado, let's go into my high school period from 14 to 18. Okay, so how was high school for me? So again, I have notes. I'm gonna be taking it out. So in high school, I was an extrovert, and it didn't always start that way. So I remember there was a very clear story. By the way, as I'm talking about the different eras, the different time periods, I'm gonna be putting pictures of myself throughout these time periods, just so I guess you can get a better picture of me and how I grew, and maybe you can get a sense of what I went through in your head, and hope maybe you can relate it back to you. So in high school, I remember entering high school and I already had a couple of friends from middle school. In middle school, I'd say, an extrovert as well, but I'm not going to dive too deep into that. I entered high school with like two or three best friends, and I remember the day that I started as a freshman. I was in choir. Like I've been part of music my whole life, so my best friends were in band, and I was in choir. And I remember the first day of freshman year, I go into the band room because I want to hang out with my friends. Their names are Jeremy and Jeffrey, and I was looking for Jeremy and Jeffrey, and I remember this senior came out of nowhere. He must have been like 7 feet tall. I'm just this little kid, first day of high school, looking up to this guy like, oh my god, you're so tall. And I just say, hey, I'm looking for my friends, and he told me straight up. I mean, great lesson for first day of freshman year. He said, I don't give an F if you're with the band director. Get out of here. Like I don't care if you're friends with the band director. Get out of here. And I flipped. I was like, all right, man, whatever you say, I'm out of here. But fortunately, like early on, because I had those friends, I was able to kind of, meet other people, and I could use my friends as foundation. So I kind of use my friends as leverage, right? As you do, right? Best friends use each other as leverage. You get to meet other people through them because they might have their own set of friends. You kind of get to go to different sort of circles. And because of that, I was able to build up my extroversion, I suppose, right? And as the years went on, so what started happening, and I think this is something I always say for extroverts or people that want to improve their social skills. As the years went on, as I got older and adolescence started and puberty hit, my interest started shifting. Like when I was 14, 15, I was very interested in video games. Like for anyone that's my age, I was on the Xbox 360 playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, trying to prestige and just spending a ton of time doing that. I used to spend a ton of time skateboarding, and because I was developing myself outside of school, I wasn't just doing school. I feel like all those moments allowed for me to become more confident and thus more extroverted, right? So when I met people in school, I was able to talk to them about Xbox. or maybe I can talk to some people about skateboarding. And those little things led to other events where I started, meeting more and more people. And again, as the older I got, interests changed. So let's say, 15, 16, 17, I started getting more into like partying, and I was more invested in girls and spending time, just with friends and girls and parties and really just being down for anything. And that's also a very key point. So my friends, because I had a good friend group, they really pushed me out of my comfort zone and they allowed for me to say yes a lot. I was just like down for everything. So anything they did, I want to be a part of. Anything I did, they want to be a part of. And just naturally, you're going to meet a lot of people through those moments. So I think that was like one thing that was very cool. So I think if you're in this age group, so let's say right now you're watching this video, you're 14 to 18, trying to figure out how to maybe go from the introvert stage to the extrovert stage, I would highly encourage you to first develop yourself. A lot of times in relationships, they always say that you can't love someone else unless you love yourself. And I think that doesn't ring like as true as it does in this story, right? So you need to make sure that you are focusing on yourself. You're doing things like going to the gym or finding new hobbies outside of school, just anything that makes you interesting from whatever else everyone's doing. Like everyone's going to school, everyone's trying to do good in school, they're doing their homework. That's just like normal, right? What else are you doing extracurricular? And if you're not doing anything, try to focus on those things. And again, as you start focusing on these things, you're going to find that people are going to become naturally attracted to you, right? You're going to meet people in these new things. If you start going to the gym, you'll probably stumble upon some people you think are cool, and you're going to meet them there. If you start, joining like an after school club, maybe it's an art club or a book club or, music or something like this, you're going to meet people outside of there. So even if it's hard, like I know it's hard, you don't have to go from 0 to 100, but maybe the first step is just stepping foot into that first meeting of that club, right? There's a club meeting on Wednesday. It's the first meeting. Just go to the event. You don't even have to say anything to anyone. Just go and sit down in the orientation and just observe. That can be like your challenge right there. And just take small little steps, progressively overload your skills. That's something I talk about a lot here. And then you'll see that you'll start making friends easily. Like as you keep doing these little improvements, you're just gonna get a lot better. Okay? So by the time I finished high school, I mean, I had a solid friend group. Obviously, when you're a senior of high school, you feel like you're the king. You feel like you're invincible, like you can do anything you want. And honestly, it really was like this for me. I think I just got lucky. I had a very good childhood, a very good high school experience. And by the time I graduated, I felt like I was on top of the world. You know, I mean, I felt like I had access to a lot of different friends. I can do a lot of different things. I had access to a lot of unique and cool opportunities for a high school student. And still, I had a lot of fun. And I remember graduating, and by the way, I was one of the first people in my senior year that found out where they were going to go for university. So by the time I knew where I was going to go, I no longer had like a crazy drive to study or anything, right? I was already like, okay, I got into university, so that's cool. So by the time I graduated, I already knew where I was going to go. I had some friends I was going to go with, and that was pretty cool. So of course I thought when I joined university that's going to be awesome. But and I guess that's the next portion of the video. We'll dive into university and how you see I went from being this extrovert to then being an introvert. So let's go into that right now. So when I started university, I had a pretty unique university experience, right? So you might have heard me say earlier that my university experience was from 18 to 24. Normally it's a 4-year sort of journey for most people, but the thing about me is I started in one university, right? So the first university I went to, I remember I had my best friends there, Jeremy and Jeffrey, and it was awesome. I mean, the first year of university for me, it felt like an extension of high school. So I was still going out a lot. I really was trying to put myself out of my comfort zone. Again, slowly building up the confidence to meet new people and slowly get into meetings about different clubs and see what's out there and just overall having a good time. Like in this stage of your life, you really should be taking risks and trying to just jump at every opportunity and meet as many people as you can because it's only going to make you a more well-rounded person. So I go to university, and I remember within the first 3 months, I realized, this is not what I want to do. And I was actually doing a different major at the time. I was doing mechanical engineering, and by the way, I ended up doing computer engineering. And I remember like 2 months in, I give a call to my mom, and I'm like, hey, mom, like, I don't know if I want to do mechanical engineering anymore. And she says, well, you're going to have to stay at least the first year in school before you decide to leave or go anywhere else. And that just drove me crazy because I just wanted to leave that university. It wasn't a bad university, it just didn't have what I wanted. And so what I did, well, I did what my mom had said, and I had to do the whole year. And then finally, after the year was over, I was able to transfer back to my hometown. And in my hometown, I actually went to another university, and I only stayed there for one semester. Now, around this time is when I feel like my personality started to change, right? Because I transferred. First of all, I transferred. I was already sort of isolating myself, right? I'm not with the original cohort of kids that started at the university. Now I'm a transfer student. And I also became a commuter. In my first university, I lived in the dorms, and now in this one, I was a commuter. I was a transfer student, and didn't really know. It's not so much that I was having trouble fitting in. It's just I felt like people alienated themselves because they thought I was just different. I was a little bit older than some of the other kids. I had a little bit of a different background. So here is when things started changing. So when I started going to this university, my only goal was to use it as a platform to end up in the university that I eventually graduated from. So I finished my first semester there, my only semester there. Then I took a semester off to go work at Disney World. And then once I finished Disney World, I ended up going to the university where I eventually graduated from. And keep in your head, right? Up until this moment, I've transferred from two other universities. I was a transfer student. And when I started at the last university, I entered at the same time as the freshmen. So here I was, a 20-year-old, entering with 17 and 18-year-olds. So already I was this older student, didn't really see me a lot. I would just go to school and go right back home, and that's all I did. I was a transfer student, commuter, all that stuff. So I think because of all of this, my personality really changed. And let me tell you, like, I really, really became a hermit. I mean, my daily routine consisted of me just going to school. After class, I would go to the library. There was two libraries. I was in the music school, so the music school had its own library, and in that library, I would just isolate myself. Like, I literally would sit in the furthest corners of the building just to be alone. And not so much because it's not like I don't want to talk to people. I mean, honestly, I wasn't really thinking about that. I just want to be alone. I liked my soul. Is soulless the right word for that? I like just being alone. I could focus, and that's one thing I want to mention. Like, and maybe that's a pro of being an introvert, because I had a lot of alone time. I actually focused a lot on my studies, but at the same time, I put away a lot of social events. And when I did go to social events, honestly, just a handful of times, it felt so strange. I felt like I was, you know, I was stepping out of my comfort zone, but it didn't feel right. I feel like I was trying way too hard to fit in, and after a while, that takes a lot of energy out of you because you feel like this isn't really me. And that's actually when you start having thoughts like that, I think that's actually a sign of maturing because you're starting to become self-aware, right? You're starting to realize like this is not really who I am. This is not really what I enjoy doing. Like I don't really feel like I have to be here. This is not me. So, you know, during that time, it just became so different. I had trouble approaching people. I definitely wasn't talking to really like any girls. I wasn't hanging out with any guys outside of school. I didn't join any clubs, and that's one huge thing that I regret is not having, you know, okay, pro of being an introvert, I focus on my studies, but a huge thing I regret that I probably should have done is I really should have taken the opportunity to network, go out of my way to meet people, join any club, just be the most outgoing person possible because in university you have access to such a wider network and just so many different people from so many different backgrounds, and you're an adult now, like you're doing your own thing. You're possibly like renting an apartment or you live in a dorm. You're really like becoming an adult. You have to take care of way more things than you did when you were in high school. And so, oh, give me 1 second because my dog might want to leave and he might be scared of the camera here. It's okay, boy. Give me 1 second. You wanna go? Or why don't you just sit, boy? You wanna sit? Okay, go down. Go down, boy. It's okay. Come on, Benji. Okay, you wanna go there? Okay. Come on, Benji. No, Sawyer, you stay. Benji, come on. Okay, you sit, boy. Go, Benji. Go, Benji. Here, boy. Shh. Down. Down, boy. Stay. My dog has literally never sat on that sofa. I don't know how much of him you can see right now, but he's literally never sat on that sofa. So let me look at some notes here. I was talking about regretting not going out as much, and I was this transfer student, introvert. And that's really what it is, right? So that I think that about wraps up my college experience. I went from high school, I was just up here, then I went all the way down to an introvert. In my eyes, it was not. I mean, right? Like I, relative to me, how I think, I felt like as an introvert, I was knowing what I know now. I felt like that was a low point in my life. Even though I focused on my studies, I ended up with a great GPA. Unfortunately, I ended up with a great job. I feel like I just could have done more. So that's my journey in college, ages 18 to 24. And now I want to transition really into where I am now, present day. So my work life. All right, so work life. So imagine, again, I want to recap what we've done, right? So ages 14 through 18, high school. At the top, I'm an extrovert. I go down from the ages of 18 to 24. I spent 6 years in college, so transferred to universities, took 2 semesters off to work at Disney World 2 different times, and now to present life from when I started at 24 to where I am now at 31. So 6 weeks after university graduation, I remember, by the way, university graduation, just to give you a picture of this, I felt so like lost. I was with the people that I had been studying with for so long, but I didn't really feel like a connection to any of them. So it just goes to show how, you know, when like because I was an introvert, I didn't make any long lasting connections. And by the time graduation came, I took the picture with them and we smiled at each other and we knew each other by name, but it didn't feel like, man, we did this together. So anyway, 6 weeks after I graduate, I get a call from my manager, the person that I was interviewing with, and he says, "Hey, we want to hire you. So when can you start?" And I start. So now I'm in like full adult mode, right? I'm paying for my own apartment. I got a job as an engineer, and let's see what happens. So first couple weeks on the job, timid. I go in there. I'm really shy. Don't really know what to do. And I remember I met someone that I consider a best friend of mine now. His name was Jason. Now, the best thing about Jason was Jason, well, if you're watching Jason, you're an awesome friend. I love you, man. But your social skills have never been great. I mean, they're great. I mean, he can make people laugh. But the thing about him that in the beginning I didn't like was that he was very blunt. So coming out of this introversion phase, I was very sensitive. You know, like I felt like, oh my God, I can't take any constructive criticism. And Jason would just like give me all the criticism because he was my friend. And I didn't realize that until like a year later when I started becoming more tough because of people like him, right? So I met Jason and I also met another best friend of mine called Nina. Now, Nina and Jason, we quickly clicked. I just looked at my dog. He looked so happy. We quickly clicked. And again, they were both the same way. So anytime I would make mistakes at work, they would tell me, you got to do better at this. You got to do better at this. You got to grow this way. You got to do this thing. And that's really what kind of started getting me like on this journey to get back to extroversion, right? Because now I have someone that's really helping me point out my flaws. They're telling me how I can improve, the different things I should try out, what I should and shouldn't do, and that's super important when you're trying to grow. So if you're in this stage in your life, if you're at any stage in your life, whether in high school or college or just normal work life, like find friends that are going to tell you really how it is, because I think there's nothing more valuable than that. So again, as I'm starting to get comfortable in work, I'm starting to become more confident in what I do. I'm getting older, I'm getting wiser. I'm like, these are my people, right? I went to school as an engineer and now I'm surrounded by engineers and I realize that they have a lot of the same interests that I do. I'm glad I stopped talking when he does that because that sounds like a helicopter when he does it. Let me try to get him back on the sofa. All right, bench, come on. Stay. So you're. There he goes. Stay. Okay, so I'm an engineer now. I'm around people that I enjoy being around, and I think because of that, because I was now in a position where I felt good around the people that I was in. I was really just able to get out of my comfort zone once again. And I know that sounds weird, but it's almost like you feel like you have a safe space, right? You feel like you have a good friend group. You have a group of people who you know are gonna have your back. So you know that now you can start trying things out again. Started going out. I started meeting people. I started networking. Now I'm in a position where I have money, so I can take more risk. I can start doing a lot more different things. And again, that's what slowly propelled me to start being an extrovert again. And now it's where I am now. Right now, at this stage of my life, I feel like I can. Of course, there's so much I want to improve on, and that's one of the reasons I'm even making this channel to start off with, because I think it's just good for my own skills to be talking to this camera. And oh man, this guy. I totally just had a brain fart right now because my dogs were distracting me a little bit. I'll probably cut this part off. But now I'm older and I know what I want, and I'm just in a much better spot. I feel like I can mostly handle any social situation, like good or bad, or even if it's awkward. I feel like I just have the right tools to be able to get myself out of, well, I don't want to say get, but maneuver any social situation. So now we've gone over three very important eras, right? High school, college, and work. Now where I am in my life. Now I want to sort of summarize everything and give some lessons, right? So I want to talk about like the pros and the cons of introversion versus extroversion, and maybe just give you all some, I wouldn't even say pointers, it's just food for thought, right? So the pros about being an extrovert are you're going to meet a lot more people. You're probably going to be more willing to network and get out of your comfort zone and try, attempt risks, try new opportunities. In general, you're probably just going to have a more fulfilling life because you're just trying a lot of new things. There's a saying that says the older we get, the faster life goes because we end up doing less novel things. Because when we get older, our life's just kind of on repeat, right? Wake up, go to work, come back, chill, go to sleep. Wake up, go to work, come back, chill, go to sleep. But if you're an extrovert and you're constantly trying new things, like, oh, this weekend I'm going to go to this party, next weekend I'm going to go to a museum, and the weekend after I'm going to go bowling, right? You're just super out there, you're always meeting people, and you're probably going to end up doing a lot more novel things, so your life will be maybe more exciting. Now, I think a con of that is sometimes it's easy to get distracted and all that, and sometimes forget the things that are like core values, right? So maybe in the sense of school, it's like, well, you might start being very extroverted and start meeting people and having fun, going to parties, but then your studies kind of like take a back seat, right? They get on the back burner. Maybe something like that's not so good. But of course, you can balance both of them. Don't think that because I'm one, I can't be the other. And I think that leads me into introvert. I think that if you're an introvert and you're someone that likes being home, there's a lot of good things that come from that too. Like if you're home, guess what? When I was an introvert, I spent a lot of time with my family. So with my family, I was able to develop a deeper connection with them. And now I feel like I'm way more connected now to my family than I've ever been. And I feel like that time of me as an introvert, going back home right after school and just hanging out with them really helped me develop that connection. And I also feel like it just helps me focus more on the things that matter, like school or work, right? I'm just very focused. I don't really care too much about the outside world. I'm moving a little bit slower. I'm appreciating life a little more, which you can also say that will make life seem longer because you're just enjoying, smelling the roses, as they say, right? So I think those are some of my perspectives, pros and cons of extroversion, introversion. Maybe not pros and cons, just perspectives I have on myself. And again, looking at the whiteboard here, some advice I do have is just be aware of yourself and embrace the change. Honestly, being an extrovert or being an introvert, none of them are bad. In my eyes, I see everything as good. I'm a very optimistic person, and I think being an extrovert or introvert, they both bring great things to the table. So if you feel like you're on either side of the spectrum, just enjoy it. Do the best you can at that moment in your life with I guess, the energy that you have been given at that stage, right? So if you're currently an extrovert, take advantage of it. Go out, meet people, network, try crazy things. Just be wild, responsibly. That's an important caveat. Be wild responsibly. Just try a lot of things. And if you're an introvert, spend time with your family, spend time with really close friends, focus on work, focus on school, focus on creative outlets, make money, make YouTube videos, so on and so forth. Just appreciate both ends of the spectrum. So you shouldn't feel pressure regardless of where you are. If you feel like there's people around you that are pressuring you to do something that you really don't like to do, you might want to rethink who you're around, right? So all in all, I just wanted to take this time to outline my journey from being an extrovert to introvert to extrovert. And if you found it helpful, if you like this type of content, remember to subscribe to me. You can like my video. I would really love if one of you all left me a comment and let me know what type of journey you're on, what stage maybe you're in. And I'd love to just engage with you and see where we end up, have a great conversation. And that's really the point of all this. So again, I'm going to continue making videos like this. I always have, I literally have a list of ideas for things like this. So just always excited to come back on here and do more of this. And yeah, I'm looking at my notes and I feel like I covered everything. So with all that being said, I hope you guys all have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. And again, wherever you are, it doesn't matter. Everything's going to be fine. And I promise you're going to be great just where you are. So take care, everyone. And I'll see you on the next video.